Hi, I am so excited to talk to you today about resumes and how to get yours to the top of the pile. I've gotten so many questions from people on LinkedIn and people are on LinkedIn that I'm really interested in helping you out get your resume because this is the most important tool to getting you interviews. And if you're not getting interviews, it's likely because your resume is not a good match. Thanks for joining me. I'm Nick Frick, a career coach for moms. And I'm super excited that you're here. I have a variety of ways that I can work with you, and I would love to share them with you at the end of this video. So please, let's dive into resumes. So whenever I get a resume, I look at it first from the lens of a recruiter who's probably looked at about hundreds of resumes a day or that week, even thousands. And so they really want to be able to see what is important to you and what your unique attributes are and what your contributions are going to be right away. And so they look at it for about 4 or 5 seconds, which means they only see about the top 20% of your resume, which means when you think of a piece of paper, like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, if you were to print your resume, that would be about 3 inches, maybe. So that's like your name, maybe your first job, and what I would recommend you do later, which I'll talk about more, is a summary. Okay. And so what I want you to start with is thinking about your resume in terms of how to talk to the recruiter about what's most important. So the top 3 things I'm going to talk to you today about are making sure that your resume tells the recruiter right away what your most important accomplishments are. And that means instead of listing what your job responsibilities are, instead make sure that you're listing what your results were, what metrics you are having in each bullet. Make sure that it tells a full story of like what the challenge was and what you were able to complete. And then in terms of every single bullet needs to be succinct. You need to brag in it, and it needs to have some sort of metric. And if you're not in sales or customer service or something like that where a number comes to mind, this could be, if you're in working in HR or as an executive assistant, this could be supported by executive or the team of X number of people, or stayed within budget for $1 million or whatever the amount was, but making sure that the person reading it sees the full story and is like, wow, that's amazing. We should get this person on the phone call. And remember, the first part of your resume has to be very succinct. And so make sure that your name is important, but also like making sure that the titles are visible, and that by the way, if you do have contract work, just take the word contract out. You can talk about it when they ask you, but if that's what you're fearing, just take it out, and that's not going to be a problem for you anymore, and that you can use as a problem, I'm saying. And so making sure the first tool is to make sure, hi Natalie, is to make sure that you are being succinct in your resume using results and accomplishments rather than your responsibilities. And if you have a section on your resume that's like key accomplishments, take it out. Put those key accomplishments inside of the job search of the job that you were doing. This will help it align with the job, and it'll give you more space to write. I would say 1 page is ideal, 2-page maximum, depending on your experience, and only like up to 5 maybe bullets for each job. It's because you want to only make sure that you're using the most important ones to you and the things that you actually still want to be doing, right? So a lot of times we're trying to change roles and we put things on our resume that we don't actually want to do. So take those off and only put the ones that mean the most to you and that are something that you want to keep doing in the future. And that if you were asked a question about, you could light up and tell a story about, okay? And so the first thing, make sure that the top part of your resume, the first 20%, are directed towards the recruiter of who you are, why you want to do this job, and the first job, okay? With really banging results, okay? Make sure that whatever you're up to right now is banging, and if it's not, make sure that your summary speaks about it. And I'll go into a summary. I have a template that I can share. If you want the template, why don't you send me a message and I can send my resume template with you so that you can see a little bit more. I dive deeper into this information. Also, second thing, I have no idea what I wrote. third thing, um, if you have at the bottom a skills and achievement section, make sure that those things are also inside of the roles. They don't need to be another extra section unless you're like in computer science or like a software engineer or someone that uses like very specific tools for the job that you're in. That's a good way to use it. But if you're not using like specialized tools, like if you write Google Drive in there or like Microsoft, everyone can use those things. You don't need them on your resume anymore. But if it is something that is important to the job that you're trying to get, like very specialized, add it. Also, if you don't have a degree, just don't put it on there. Don't put education if it causes you any stress around that, okay? And that's also listed on my the resume template. And if you want it, send me a message. And top of resume. The third thing that I want you to do is, I kind of mentioned in the first part, is make sure that each resume bullet has a full story in it. So like making sure that it has a full result in it, however you walked through. And so the things that I see the most that are problematic for resumes or are reason for not getting them is there's just too much information. Okay. The reason that a resume is really hard to write is that we just know too much about ourselves. And so making sure that you get someone to look at your resume to give you some feedback is a really good idea. Also, it's confusing. Like for a recruiter, they're looking at it and they're like, what does this person even do? And if you've job hopped, own it. Okay. Don't make excuses about how you've been job hopping and that's why people aren't reaching out to you. If people aren't reaching out to you, sometimes it's just not a match, right? And so keep moving forward. And one way this is going off the rails, off resumes, but what I want to talk about for a second is job search fatigue. And one way to avoid that is by applying to only jobs that you want. And so not getting ghosted or getting feedback from people will be okay because you're not applying to 100 jobs. Getting a message from 100 people a day or 100 jobs a week is just too much. So only apply for jobs that you want. And that will really help the universe support you in there. And also what we'll talk about later in another live, I'll talk about why making sure that you know exactly what you want with clarity. It's part of my CARE method, clarity, action, right fit, enjoyment. Inside of clarity, we make sure that we are finding exactly what you want based on your vision, values, and the life that you want to be creating. And the way that we do that after we do that is when we start on your resume. Okay. So if you're confused about your resume right now, it might be because you're just not aligned with the kind of jobs that you want. So I hope this resume improvements were helpful. Again, send me a message if you would like the template. It's really awesome. A few more things just to circle back. Make sure that your resume is very clear, that the recruiter knows what job you want and why you want it and what you'd be good at, and not just who you are, but like what you would contribute to the company. Make sure that you understand that only 20% of your resume is probably going to be seen. So making sure the top of it is thank you. Making sure that the top 20% is the only thing that kind of matters at some point, just to get it. Remember, resume is a marketing tool. Your resume is in service of you getting interviews. Okay. And so if it's not working, there might be something wrong with your resume, because then if you're getting interviews and you're not getting job offers, then that's a different problem. That's the interviewing problem. So right now we're focusing on the resume problem, which is a lot of times I see it's just like too much information. Dial it back, only put what's needed on there, be very clear and succinct. And if you want the resume template that I made, please let me know. And if you want more support, getting clear on what you want, working through this insane job market that's happening right now, that's so different than pre-COVID, where everyone gets to work remote and you're just in higher competition with other people. If you want more support getting the job that you want, any job that you want and love it, reach out to me. We can hop on a call and learn about it together. I have VIP sessions. I have a group program coming up in May. And so if you want to get into that group, send me a message, or if you want to hop on a call to see which types of programs I offer and which one makes sense for you right now, send me a message, or you can go to nickfrick.com/nextsteps. I can't wait to hear from you.